He denied the black baby at birth, but nearly collapsed when he saw her again, wearing a judge's robe, and her first words to him in court were, "Mr. Carson, are you prepared to proceed?" You know what I mean? Take a deep breath and let this one hit. Harrison Carson's polished leather shoes clicked on the marble floors of Richmond County Courthouse, a sound he'd always enjoyed, sharp, authoritative, belonging to a man who owned the room. At 58, he was senior partner at Carson and Associates, the kind of name people whispered about in elevators, the kind of man who could kill a case with a look. Today was supposed to be the coronation, the Westridge Pharmaceuticals class action, a case so big it could buy his retirement twice over, maybe more, cementing his legacy as the legend who never lost. "Everything ready, Sharon?" he asked, barely glancing at the young associate shuffling a stack of binders at his side. "Yes, Mr. Carson." All documents prepared. Witnesses confirmed. She hesitated, voice dropping. "There's just one thing, last-minute change. New judge assigned." Harrison stopped. "Who?" "Judge Ruth Thompson." The name sucker-punched him. He steadied himself, breathing in sharp. "Are you sure?" Sharon nodded, a little lost. "Is that a problem?" "No." Harrison lied, heart hammering. "Let's proceed." But it was a problem, the biggest he'd ever faced. He stepped into courtroom 3A, eyes scanning for the judge's bench. It was empty. He felt the cruel irony. A man who prided himself on control, blindsided in his own arena. 29 years ago, Harrison had been a young, ambitious attorney, already branded Old Richmond money, who'd gotten involved with Magda Thompson, a brilliant, beautiful black law student working as an intern at his father's firm. When she told him she was pregnant, he'd made a cold calculation: deny everything, preserve the family name, use his father's pull to discredit her. He walked away, never saw the child, convinced himself it was the only way. Now the bailiff called. "All rise." The side door opened, and Judge Ruth Thompson entered, black robe flowing. She couldn't be more than 29, yet the authority in her voice was absolute. Harrison stared. She had his mother's cheekbones, his own jaw, but Magda's warm brown skin and the kind of eyes that made you want to tell the truth. Everyone stood. Harrison barely kept his knees from buckling. "Good morning. Please be seated," Judge Thompson said, scanning the room with calm focus. When her gaze landed on Harrison, she didn't flinch. No sign she recognized him. Why would she? He'd never been part of her story. But he knew. And for the first time, the man who could freeze a room with a word felt his foundation cracking. "Mr. Carson, you're representing the defense. Are you prepared?" Her voice was steady, maybe even bored. "Yes, Your Honor," Harrison managed, hearing every layer of meaning she couldn't possibly know. Or could she? Months ago, when he saw her name on a potential appointment list, he'd quietly ordered a background check. He learned Magda had raised Ruth alone, working 3 jobs, fighting through law school, and that Ruth had soared Howard, then Harvard Law, a short stint as a public defender, then straight to the bench. She'd ruled against corporations, even stood her ground in a controversial negligence case, only to have her decision overturned by higher courts. She had grit. As Harrison readied his first motion, the old guilt surged: money, legacy, all on the line, but so was something else, the secret he'd buried. "Your Honor, we move to dismiss counts 3 through 7 statute of limitations," he began, hoping to slip into legal autopilot. Judge Thompson barely raised an eyebrow. "Interesting, Mr. Carson. The plaintiffs allege ongoing harm. Are you arguing the family's suffering is time-barred?" The tone stung. Maybe she didn't know. "The court will review your motion," she said. "But in my courtroom, technical maneuvers don't outweigh justice." A warning? Or just the way she ran things? Harrison couldn't tell. He took his seat, the familiar security of the courtroom now feeling like a trap. What he didn't know was that Judge Thompson had received a mysterious envelope the day before: old photographs, letters, and a DNA report. A story about a father she'd never met. Magda's handwriting on every page. Harrison spent the rest of the hearing in a fog, her words echoing. "In my courtroom, technical maneuvers don't outweigh justice." Did she know? Was this some elaborate trap? When court adjourned, Judge Thompson called to him. Mr. Carson, a word, she said, all business. Harrison approached, heart pounding, a rookie again. Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to meet in chambers tomorrow, 8 sharp. Procedural matters. He kept his face calm, but suspicion chewed at him. May I ask what matters? She paused, just long enough to make him sweat. Let's say it concerns historical patterns relevant to these proceedings. He barely slept that night. Poured a bourbon, opened the old envelope he kept buried in his safe one photo. Magda's smile, her belly just starting to show. Insurance, he'd told himself. But he knew better. It was a tether to a past he couldn't destroy. The next morning, he arrived early. Judge Thompson was already at her desk, eyes on her files. Close the door, Mr. Carson. He did. I'll be direct, she said. I've received information suggesting a personal connection between you and this case, a potential conflict of interest. He put on his best poker face. I'm not aware of any connection, Your Honor. She pulled out a manila envelope, slid it across the desk. This contains DNA results comparing samples from Magda Thompson's effects to an anonymous sample. Would you care to guess whose it is? His throat closed. May I ask how you got my DNA? She stared, unblinking. I never said it was yours. But that's an interesting assumption. He realized too late. She trapped him. She'd gotten his DNA off a glass at a bar association event. Results show a 99.8% probability. You are my biological father. The words shattered the air. I should recuse myself, but that would raise questions. I need to understand, why did you abandon us? Why did you deny me? He looked at her, accomplished, proud, everything he might have dreamed a daughter could be, if he'd let himself dream. It was a different time. My family had expectations. I couldn't take responsibility, she snapped. You left my mother to do everything alone. Do you know what that did to us? To her. Before he could answer, the clerk burst in urgent news. A motion had been filed for Judge Thompson's recusal, claiming her husband died from complications of Westridge's drug. Marriage certificates, death records, fakes, all of it. Judge Thompson's face drained of color. I've never been married. Did you do this? She asked Harrison. I had nothing to do with it. And for once, he was telling the truth. Someone wanted her off this case. Or someone wanted the recusal to look so fake it'd ensure she stayed. Sharon caught him outside with a Toledo legal blog accusing Judge Thompson and Harrison of having a secret connection. Anonymous sources. The rumor mill was running wild. A text message buzzed his phone. We know about your daughter. Choose wisely in court today, or everyone will know. He showed her the message. Someone knows, and they're blackmailing me, he said. We don't have a relationship, she replied coldly. Just biology you denied for 29 years. The tension was nuclear. Court reconvened. Judge Thompson denied the recusal, referring the forgery for investigation. Harrison had minutes to choose. Betray his client by presenting falsified evidence or destroy both their careers by exposing the blackmail. The decision felt seismic. Your Honor, he said, standing, I believe there's been an attempt to tamper with evidence. I received a threatened, anonymous demand to submit altered testimony. The courtroom erupted. Judge Thompson called recess, summoning Harrison and the plaintiff's counsel to chambers. Another text. You've made your choice. Check the Richmond Daily News in 5 minutes. The next bomb dropped a headline, photographs, and DNA results. The whole secret splashed online. The byline was worse. Rodney Carson, Harrison's brother. Betrayal was now a family tradition. Fred, Harrison's investigator, burst in. The threatening emails were traced to the CEO of Westridge. Payments from Westridge to Rodney. The web was ugly blackmail, evidence tampering, and at its core, racism and corporate murder. Judge Thompson gathered herself, fighting to stay judicial. I have to recuse myself and report this, she said. Don't, Harrison blurted. If you step down, Westridge will bury evidence, delay everything. Whoever orchestrated the Izumi brother, your client wanted that. Don't give them what they want. She stared, torn, but agreed. I'll review the sealed documents today. If they show criminal conduct, I'll make sure the authorities get everything before I recuse. What they found was explosive. Emails confirming Westridge's drug caused fatal liver damage, especially in African-American patients, and that the company had calculated acceptable losses in minority communities. Hundreds dead. The next move was Harrison's. Another text, this time from Peter Westridge himself. Stand with us or watch your daughter's reputation burn. But Harrison had crossed a line inside. For decades, he'd put reputation before everything. Now, finally, he saw the cost. Your Honor, he said, I withdraw as counsel and will testify about the blackmail and fraud. Westridge was arrested in court, shouting that Judge Thompson's mother had been investigated for fraud, another lie, another weapon. Ruth, steady as ever, exposed the truth. Her mother had been falsely accused for filing claims for Ruth's heart surgeries Harrison's family insurance would have covered if he'd owned up. The real story about Westridge broke nationwide: deadly drugs, corporate targeting, systemic racism. Rodney was arrested, and Peter Westridge, cornered, killed himself in custody. The media exploded. But the heart of it all, the long-buried shame, was suddenly everywhere. The next morning, Harrison arrived early for a meeting in Ruth's chambers. She handed him her official statement, calm, unflinching, honest in ways Harrison never had been. For the first time, he used her name. Ruth, I can't change the past, but I want you to know how sorry I am. Why did you do it? She asked, voice soft. Harrison told the truth about fear, ambition, and how he'd chosen himself over her and Magda. He watched as anger warred with sadness in her eyes. I spent weeks wanting to hate you, Ruth said quietly. But mostly I feel sad. For the relationship we never had. For my mother, who deserved better. For you, missing out on us. Harrison nodded, swallowing regret. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I am proud of you. Everything you've achieved, you have her courage. They sat in silence. Two people trying to find a bridge over decades of pain. If you're willing, Harrison finally said, I'd like to get to know you now. Not to erase the past, but to build something new. I don't know if that's possible, Ruth replied, but I'm willing to try. For my mother. She believed in second chances. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something. As they left her chambers, walking side by side into the media storm, Harrison felt hope. Hope for redemption. Hope that maybe, just maybe, some bonds can be rebuilt even after a lifetime apart. On the courthouse steps, Harrison spoke to the cameras, voice steady, words finally honest. 29 years ago, I made the worst mistake of my life. Today, I'm taking the first step toward making it right. So where do you stand, folks? Is justice just about the law, or about finally doing the right thing, even when it's decades late? Drop your thoughts below. What's worse, the crime or the cover-up? Let's talk about justice, redemption, and the scars families leave behind.